Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for coming. So, today we are going to be talking about time zones and understanding time zones because that is a topic that a lot of people struggle with. And in this specific field, in this business, we work with a lot of different time zones, and it is important to at least understand the basics and have the resources you need to best find out your information as well to help your clients or your teammates. So, why do time zones exist? So, they regulate night and day around the world. Since the earth rotates, the sun rises at different times all over the world. So, when booking travel, this makes it easy to know if it will be day or night when your client's plane lands at their destination because time is regulated and follows the sun. So, it would be really weird if it was 7 a.m. here in the United States and 7 a.m. in Japan, okay, and it's daytime and nighttime. That would just be super confusing. So this makes it more regulated and easier to understand. So it really is not that complicated. There are 24 hours in a day, right? So there are 24 time zones. Okay, they line up in a nice little graph like this. So each of these colors going down is a time zone. Okay, so if you move this direction, you're going forward into time. So you do plus 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour. And if you're going the other direction, you'd be subtracting. Okay. So it's not just like perfectly straight lines, right? Because it shows that the different countries and Brazil is kind of like zigzag down the middle, but they do try to regulate as close to as possible. As you can see, it is, for the most part, pretty standard. Um, so that way, if you know that China is in this time zone and New York is in this time zone, you're going to be able to figure out what time it is in different locations, so you don't accidentally call a client at 2 in the morning, right? Okay, so we're going to do a little practice. This one's easy. This is just the United States. So we have Pacific time, Mountain time, Central time, and Eastern time. Um, so if it's 8 a.m. here, it's 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and 11 a.m. Okay. So if I am in California and I want to travel to Missouri, am I going forwards or backwards? You guys tell me.
Forward.
And how many hours forward would we count?
2.
Perfect. So, yeah, it's just counting. If you're over here in New York, you're going to go backwards instead. So, as long as you know that Pacific time is 1 hour behind Mountain time, if you live here, then you're going to know that on a schedule, if we put Pacific time, you're just going to subtract an hour. So, that is the US and how that works, just the four time zones. So, here's some examples of how it works, and it can get a little bit complicated when you have clients all over the world, or in my case, you have agents on your team who are in different countries. So, you have to kind of coordinate. It might be a little bit later at night for them and earlier in the morning for you, or whatever it works. Um, for both of you. You just have to be aware of that. So if it's 3 p.m. in Los Angeles, it's 6 p.m. in New York, 11 p.m. in London, 7 a.m. in Tokyo, and 9 a.m. in Sydney. So yeah, it definitely changes. um, so you have to kind of think about that when you are booking travel as well. So now we're going to talk about working with clients because this really can be impacted with time zone changes. So when you're communicating with potential clients, you need to be mindful of what time it is for them. Okay. It's not going to be a great look if you are trying to call them in the middle of the night their time, or if they're like, hey, yeah, let's talk at 10 a.m. You want to ask them, okay, what time zone at 10 a.m.? That way you don't have miscommunications, right? Airlines are always going to give you the time of the location that the airplane will be in. Okay. I get my team ask me this all the time. I have people wondering this, so I just want to be clear. The airline is going to give you the time of the location that the airplane will be in. So if it takes off from Los Angeles, that time is Pacific. Okay. But if it's going to land in the Eastern time zone, then it's going to, that no the sorry the time that it lands is going to be in Eastern, okay? So it does switch time zones according to where the plane is going to be. So it's also gonna help you be better able to plan your client's trip. Um, so yeah, you don't necessarily wanna get them into their destination so early in the morning that they can't get their shuttle to the hotel or whatever the case. So you wanna just keep that in mind. Um, what time it's gonna be when they're there and when they're leaving and that kinda stuff. And then if you're mentoring like I am, this is where it does get complicated in a way because you have to know what time it is for each of your junior business partners, okay? So I have agents in Europe, Australia, and New Zealand, Central America, the Caribbean, all over the US, of course. So, yes, you do have to think ahead about what time it is there. So, if I'm scheduling this at 2 p.m. my time, that might not be convenient for other people, which is okay if you record it, okay? But when it comes to one-on-one presentations or one-on-one trainings, you do need to think about that, okay? You gotta make it work for them as well. So just kinda knowing where they're at is really big when it comes to planning that. Um, so all things to consider. And then this is an awesome resource I wanna give you guys because honestly, you can't memorize every time zone, right? You can have a general idea, "Oh, it's probably about noon," or "It's the late afternoon there." But if you need to know an exact time, where what time it is in London right now, what time it is in Sydney, you're gonna need a tool, okay? Google is fantastic, but I wanna show you timeanddate.com. I'm gonna go out of here and show you this. Okay, so this is timeanddate.com. So if you go to World Clock, this is what this is here. It's going to show you what time it currently is um wherever. So Detroit, it's 6:10. Okay, and notice it changes days too. So it's already Tuesday in some places, and this is just an awesome tool to be able to come in here and quickly see, okay, so it's the middle of the night in Paris right now. This is not a good time to call my client, right? And then another tool on here, which is fun, is you go to time zones and time zone converter, and then you can put in different time zones. So we'll do Tempe, Arizona. Okay, so it's 3 p.m. here. Um, Give me some other time zones. Let's do Milan. So there you go. Look, it even gives you a sad face. Not a good time to call. So it's midnight there. Um, so yeah, you can just play around with this and it's kind of fun to see, like, what time it is. So it says "boo face." That's kinda, like, borderline when you could call people. But I have babies, so I wake up early. So, yeah, this is just an awesome tool that you guys can use and play around with it, especially when it comes to planning trainings or one-on-ones or Zoom calls with potential clients, right? Come in here and just play around with the time zones so you know, "Hey, so someone wants to travel to Italy, there's quite a big time difference there. Let's make sure we have this all straight." So that's just one tool that I use a lot and I always recommend to people because, yeah, there are a lot of time zones, 24 time zones, and knowing what countries are in which, that's a lot. So this is just one of the awesome tools that you can use to understand it all better, to get the information you need and to be a go-getter, okay? need to always go to your mentor and ask simple questions, you can go to Google and find the answers to most of the questions. Okay. I'm not saying your mentor is not there for you, but it does say a lot to be self sufficient in this business and try to find your answers yourself first. And this is one tool that, as far as time zones go, I highly recommend. So thank you guys for joining. I'm gonna close out the recording and then we can do Q&A if you guys have any questions.